Hello, everybody. We are here for Tuesday Talks, and today we have an amazing person called Regard Tang. She has an amazing journey from being a professional makeup artist to a coach, now into a energy healer. She's helping now release emotional traumas, release any ancestral energy, and connect with the loved ones that aren't here as well. Let's get Regard on here and hear all the journey. Hi, Regard. How you doing?
Good. How are you? It's good evening to you. It's still good morning for me.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. It is. Two different part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, different time zone, still in the same world.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for taking the time out to join us on Teaser Talks, where we inspire others with your journey and inspiration. So I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to elaborate more and expand more onto it. So let us know who you are, what you
Mhm.
do, and biggest question of all would be, why do you do it?
Absolutely. So thank you for, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to get on because I think that we booked this sections like 6 months prior. And actually later of today, I'm going on a trip and I completely forgot that I have an interview with you. I'm like, thank God I have enough time. But anyways, my name is Regard Tang. I am an energy healer and a medium. And as you mentioned it earlier, my background was a professional makeup artist. I work in fashion and commercial industry for a decade. And funny enough, is one thing led to another because of the pandemic. And also that my journey was I was personally went through a depression and anxiety myself, and I was like, fashion is I love fashion, but I don't think this is good for my well-being, my mental health, my physical health, like the full 360s. I was basically like into pieces, like breaking apart. And I was like, okay, I have a very unique journey. Maybe I should step into coaching and inspire other people because I always love to inspire other people. But we are going to dive deep a little bit in a little bit. But I just wanted to say that, like, so this is the background, and then it moved on to coaching, and I was just doing coaching like a year-ish, and then 6 months ago, I realized that I have a very, very unique spiritual gift. And I met my mentor 6 months ago, and she helped me. She basically helped me to develop this. And now we work very closely together. And my specialty is help people to pull trauma out of their body. We all do have trauma. And funny enough that a lot of the trauma came from our childhood, and a lot of us that we don't know, right? So sometimes it's from our ancestors, sometimes it's just our childhood that it formed who we are today. And so, yeah, so that is what I'm focusing on. I am a clairvoyant, so I can hear, I can see, I can feel in my body. And funny enough, sometimes when I work with my client and they're like, I never told you all this information. It's like, how the heck did you know? And I'm like, this is a gift. But yeah, so I really like specialize in emotions because I personally have a lot of emotions myself. I sift through a lot of my, can I curse in here? Just
No.
okay, I was like, can I curse in here? That's what I asked. But anyway, so I see through a lot of like negative emotions, right? So yeah, so now that because that I went through my difficult journey myself and get to where I am today, and I'm just so grateful of having this gift and able to give guidance to my client, and also to just guide them. I always tell my client that I'm here to guide you and let you know what are the missing pieces. I I can't do things for you. You still have to work on yourself. You still have to to go through the mountains in order to get to where you are, because that I'm not I can't do magic and like, oh, you're done, you're good. It's not like that. So yeah, so that is like briefly my background.
I love this, and thank you for sharing that as well. You
Yeah.
know, it's a journey in itself that you went through all that, and obviously, a lot of people have mentioned, the pandemic has made them pivot
Yeah.
or realize what was important to them, or in your case, came to find their ability, which was already there for the long time, but you just never noticed it because you weren't in that environment, right?
Yeah.
It's always there, and then I love the fact that you've now found it, and you're developing it, and you're perfecting it, and you're working on this to now help others. And if they are saying, if they're turning around and saying, "How do you know all this? I never told you about it." That's already, it's magic. For me, it's magic there already. So 100%, I love this, and I love the fact that you touched upon that. You're helping to deal with traumas which are from childhood or ancestral. I was speaking to somebody a few weeks ago in regards to this, and that just came to my mind. So I'll just share that. And they were talking about making sure when they have kids that the kids will have no traumas or very like less. Then I was like, well, they want to give that child all the things that trauma wise they suffered not there, right? But I know, like, no, every person, because child is a person, we are saying is a child because it's a little person, every person will have their own traumas because of the environment they're in. So
Yeah.
there will be environmental traumas, and plus the
Absolutely.
ancestral traumas which will be passed down, hand down. It's part of the DNA. Whether and when do they prop up is totally up to you. It's a bit like having those silent, like diabetes or something like that, which is passed down to generations, but some people don't get it, even though your parents have it, your uncles have it. It's in you,
Yeah.
but it's dormant until now you decide to excessively do something, and then you say, oh, hello, I'm here, I've been sitting down, thank you for waking me up.
Yeah.
And that's how I see the traumas as well. The traumas are always there,
Yeah.
and you are accumulating them, and then it comes a time, like a volcano, it just erupts one day, right? Is that the right way for me thinking?
Well, there's no right or wrong because everyone's experienced differently, correct? So, how I see trauma is like, as you said, I like how you touched the point of environment. We cannot put a child or a person in a greenhouse, right? So they still have to go out. They still have to like interact with other people. When other people have certain like PTSD or trauma or anything negative emotions, it might impact your child, right? So as a human, there's no only positive experience in our life. What makes us who we are is we experience negative and positive at the same time, and understanding, oh, okay, this is the negative, this is the positive, this is what I did, like, quote unquote, wrong, so I can improve better in a sense, right? And I always say that we are not perfect, and there's no way to be perfect. And I always ask my client, can you define what is perfect, right? And we are all imperfectly perfect in a sense, in a way, right? We can only be better. We can only be like, okay, I realized that this time I didn't do great. How can I apologize to another person, right? So all those things that it can create an experience for some, they see it as a trauma, or they feel it as a trauma. It's just because that some people do certain things, it hurt them. The person, when they did certain things, they don't plan to this thing. They are doing their best to do as a human, but you cannot predict what the outcome is, right? So and also now it's more aware of like, oh, mental health, being vulnerable. We talk about this now, which is is great. But think about 2 generations ago. Do they talk about this? They're like, oh yeah, I'm okay. Even though you ask your parents, everything is okay. Why are they not okay, right?
That is so true. That is so true. No, when you ask any especially parents, uncles, aunties, everything is okay,
Everything's
and
okay.
yeah, and there's never no it's a taboo subject in some families as well. So and yeah, great thing that you should mention there. Yeah, it's been talked about it quite a lot now. Is a subject that a lot of youngsters now know about it, so that they can they're growing up with this kind of care already, with the
Mhm.
ability to know what's actually painful and what's not painful. If this is not okay, I need to fix it. You just don't need to grow up with this now. If I need to
Mhm.
fix it, I need to make myself aware, make others aware that this is happening to me, so that mental abilities or stress is another word that gets thrown about a lot nowadays. They say that about 10-year-old babies and babies, they're not baby anymore, kids,
Kids.
they have stress as well.
Yeah.
10-year-olds,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
even though little kids, not like even less than 10, like if they are growing up in an environment that the parents that they are not in a harmony, they don't know how to communicate. Like they are growing up in that environment. Of course that is stressful, of course it's traumatic. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, going back to your journey from being a professional makeup artist, take us through that transition to your coaching. Uh, you know, so obviously you were a professional makeup artist. So what were you doing that time?
Yeah, so I was work in fashion and commercial. So I was basically in productions for the audience that they don't understand what is productions means that so basically that I work in Fashion Week, like New York Fashion Week, because I used to live in New York, on magazine, on the billboard. So those kind of commercials, right? So just want to give them a little background on that. So yeah, so 12 years ago, I before 12 years ago, I actually was in a 9 to 5, but I wasn't happy. So when the economic hit, I was like, okay, it's time for me to pursue something I like. So on 2010, I just went back to Hong Kong because I originally from there. I went back to Hong Kong to study makeup for 6 months. Then I went back to San Francisco after shortly after I finished my certificates. And I know that this is what I love. This is what I want to pursue, right? But then, of course, as an Asian culture, my parents, and I'm the only child, my parents wasn't really fully support me as an artist. They're like, okay, you can do it on the side. I'm like, no, I want to do it full time. They're like, are you crazy? I'm like, sure, whatever. So I started in San Francisco, then I moved down to LA, then I moved to New York to pursue my dream. I want to see how far I can push myself to become quote unquote successful, right? And this is another thing that the society value this so much of the success, but they are not value about, oh, are you happy about it? Oh, how's your mental health? So basically doing my 10 years in fashion, I was just like climbing up that ladder like nonstop. So I'm very grateful that I got to a lot of like big shows and I had a lot of big clients. So I work in Project Runway. I'm not sure that are you familiar in it? Like, no?
Not here.
Okay, not in British, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so for the audience that they are in the States, so they will know like Project Runway and Victoria's Secret. Do you know?
Oh yes, yeah. Actually, Project Runway, it rings a bell now. Yes, I've
Yeah,
seen it on TV though. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
So like those are the big clients that I work with. And my book became really, really like polished, right? So I'm like climbing that ladder. I'm like, okay, I can make this, I can make this, I can make this. But deep down, like I know that I was really sad because that it's just not fulfilled. Because in fashion industry, it's very brutal. Everyone is replaceable. Means that if you're not available now, like tomorrow or whatever, they will hire someone else. Or like, oh, because of the budget that they cut the budget, they rather to hire someone cheaper than having the loyalty in that. Of course, that I build a very solid clientele, and they always come back to me, and I'm very grateful for that. However, that stress, that uncertainty, that like you constantly questioning yourself, like, am I enough? Am I enough? Am I enough? So I went through that the whole rabbit hole, and I didn't even know that I was battling depression and anxiety for years until 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So 2017, I start realizing I'm like, why I constantly complaining? Why I constantly angry? What is going on with me, right? And then I was talking to one of my very close girlfriends, and she was like, well, I am going to therapy and it helps me a lot. Maybe someone can help you in that sense. And I was like, oh, I'm just talking to someone and I'm good with it because I'm an extrovert. Like it's not a problem for me to talk to someone. I got into the therapy. Within the first 5 minutes, I was bawling my eyes out. I was like, my life is in crumble. What is going on with my life? Like, this is insane. So I just didn't know that I was in an environment that it just really hurting me as a person, right? So not even for the physical part, because as a makeup artist in New York, I don't know, are you in London?
I'm in London, yeah. So I'm aware of the Fashion Week and everything. I attend the London one every time. I haven't
Exactly.
attended the past 4 years because of obvious reasons. But yeah.
Exactly. So makeup artists, New York and London is a similar structure, right?
Mhm.
So you have to take the train or like quote unquote subway, right? So you're just dragging your makeup kit for 35, 40 pounds up and down the stairs and catching train by train by train to get to the destination, right? So like the stressor, it's just like it's always on you, right? And like sometimes that you will get a call at 6 p.m. and they will ask you, oh, are you available tomorrow? Because you need that job to pay your rent, you need that job to pay your food. Then you're like, okay, I do it, but you're like somewhere else. You just have to run home, get your makeup kit done, and get ready for the next day. And waiting for the call sheet means that like the call sheet is like listed like what time you have to get there, location, everything, right? Maybe the call time is at 6, so you have to get out at 4 a.m.
Cool. Yeah.
to get yourself ready, be presentable, and give yourself an hour to go to the destination, right? So the environment is just not setting up for like, oh yeah, be relaxed, you're okay. And I always joke about that. We are in production, we are makeup artists, we are not saving lives. And it is okay, right? Like a minute or two, it is okay. But then one of my mentor in my makeup journey, he was like, you have to get here before me. When you're on time, you're already late. No one has 1 second to wait for you. So you can see how that goes, right? So of course, my mental health, and also my physical health and my emotional health, everything in a spiral. And I got to the point that I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's not like I cannot be in the fashion industry. I really love my job, but my job never loved me back. I always say that. I mean, hey, it's very cliche, right? But then, so when I start going to therapy, I realized that I was like, I'm in a really bad spot. I need to get out because happiness is very valuable while that the society doesn't value that, right? When I'm happy, everything is better around me. People are more appreciative. I'm more appreciative. is how are you going to set out the vibration to other people in order for you to receive, right? Because it's you give, you receive, it's a flow, right? So at the end that I decided to like, okay, what is my next step? What I needed to do. One thing led to another. People, because they always come to me and talk to me and ask my like quote unquote advice, because I'm a very straightforward person. I don't sugarcoat anything. And I'm like, I know that you don't want to hear this, but maybe it's good for you, right? So it depends on of course, it depends on how I communicate, and I'm still learning about it. While that, how the other person's to receive, right? If they come in and ask me to want me to say something that they want to listen, maybe I'm not your person, but is it for your own growth, right? So anyway, so one thing led to another. 2019, I went to a coaching school. I just randomly stumble. Like one day I was like on Google, how to become a life coach. And so I found this school. I went to a 6 months program. I got my certificates. And because of the pandemic hit 2020 March, all the productions closed. The whole world shut down, as we remember. Living in New York City is extremely expensive. And being an artist, you don't earn a lot. So I was using my saving, and of course there's some unemployments like helping out and stuff like that. I was sticking around for 5 months. I got to a point that I was like, I can't live here anymore because I don't know when the world is going to reopen. Even though we reopen it, how the production is going to be. Like there's a lot of unknown. So I decided, I was like, you know what, maybe it's time for me to move to Las Vegas because that's my parents lived, right? Maybe I figure out a way. Maybe I move back to New York later, but this is just some time for me to step back and pause and reflect. So August 2020, I moved to Las Vegas and starting my coaching business shortly after. And also like talking to people is one of my passion. And it is very nice to share my knowledge to them and give them like the 360s, their blind spot and yada, yada, yada. And it's funny enough that I thought that coaching is my, like the people said that like third time is the charm, right? So because like coaching is my third career, then I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be my forever career because I have so much passion about it, right? But funny enough, that is just another stepping stone to how I communicate with people. How can I see things 360? How can I connect with people's emotional part? How can I understanding people's background? How can I ask great questions as a coach, right? And then I was being in a coaching field for like a year-ish. And as I said, last December, so December 2021, I got a chance to go on this event. It's a spiritual event because that while I was in therapy, I start developing more like spirituality in that way because I want to connect something bigger than just myself, right? So I was in this amazing event and I met my mentor. Her name is Annie. And Annie, she is basically a real human MRI. So she can look at you and see what is your energy stuck and why is it stuck. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So while that she was like reading people, adjusting the energy for people, my headache was just like, oh my God, I was like, I don't have headache. Like, why is so heavy for me? And all of a sudden, when I start speaking, my voice changed to like an 85-year-old man. I know. It's okay. Like, yeah, it's supernatural. And then I was like, Annie, what's going on? So because that basically I'm channeling, I'm opening up to the portal. It's not me, but like they decided, okay, now it's time for you to open up the portal. to help other people, right? So that happened, and I know that prior to that, I know that I can connect with people's emotions. I thought that I'm just like a hyper empath and able to understand because I'm such as a very empathetic person, and I feel people's pain. I always have that. And there's a couple of times prior than before that time, I was like talking to people, and all of a sudden I start crying for that person for no reason. And I was just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, what the heck is going on, right? So basically, spirits are prepping for me, but they know that I just wasn't in the right place to unlock my gift. So during the time, after I changed my voice, and then Annie was like, okay, there's only like 10 people in the audience in the group. And she's like, why don't you just start scanning each person and see what comes up? When I scanned into the third person, I was bawling my eyes out. And I felt so much of her pain. And I was like, and I start hearing stuff. Like, Spirit basically is telling me what she need to listen and know, right? So this is how I unlock my gift. And I joke about that to Annie. I was like, I always feel like I'm an X-Men and I need to find my Xavier, and you're my Xavier. So that is my journey.
That's thank you for sharing that interesting journey, and also sharing your vulnerabilities through the whole process.
Thank you.
And it's an amazing journey to find out, how you were prepared for this role that you're in now. But who knows, there is something even bigger waiting for you. And this is still, something stepping stone for that journey that is waiting for you. But I can see that everything is connected. If you hadn't joined the fashion industry, which is when you were telling the story, and I know already being involved myself, it's a cutthroat industry. And as you said, yeah, if you're on time, you're late already. You need to be early. It's to be on time is to be early. That's what I always told. And if you're on time, you're late. So that's a go home.
Yeah.
So for you to now go through that journey to then appreciate the coaching side of things, because you had that connection already. You are already guiding people, listening to them, helping them out. So, coaching would have been the right way. But then from coaching, it developed into energy side of things. And that has to, the way it's taken because if somebody had asked you, oh, go to this energy event, I don't know, 10 years ago, you'd be like, I've got no time now. Thank you very much. I'm busy.
Exactly.
So that's the appreciation, and that's what I heard from your story so far. It's the journey that you have to appreciate. You have to go through that to appreciate where you are now, and also that you're also appreciating that you are where you are now. So you are taking in the now and the present. So where the past has led to you to which is now, which now brings to so now you've come through all these pivotal moments, and obviously you've made it through. You've crossed the channels and gone over the tides, as they call it. So now you're here. Is there some sort of ritual that you've set up that now in present keeps you calm and collected? Not stressed out. Obviously, stress is usually there if you're running for the subway, and so forth. But what is there something you do on a regular basis that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so how do I ground myself is like, obviously I do meditations. Like I wouldn't say that I have that kind of like how do I say it, like a daily practice to do it every single day, right? I know that whenever I need it, then I will do meditations. But honestly, I am a very inward person, and I'm very, how do I say it, deep thought. So sometimes I know that I'm in the spiral, but I always find a way to feel like gratitude. right? So even though when fear comes up, I will be like, fear, I know that you're here to protect me. I know that you're here to serve me for a purpose. And I've been in fear for so long. And I know that it's not time for you to show up again. You can show up from time to time, but I wouldn't let you to lead me. So I always, no matter how what kind of like negative thoughts that it comes to me, I always find a way to thank it. Like I always trying to see what is the good in the bads, right? So this is how I ground myself. And of course that Las Vegas, nothing more than sun. We have sun all the time. So like I like now today is going to be like 100 degrees. So I think it's like around 35 Celsius.
Yeah, it would be that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I'm just trying to like sit near by the window to at least to get some sun. When it's not too hot, I'll sit outside. To this is the way I ground myself. And of course that I still talk to a lot of different people. And when it comes to the negatives so much, I'm like, ugh, maybe I should step back. Like I would here to help you and support you, but I know that I wouldn't let other people to affect me too much. So this is how I'm trying to ground. But yeah, so and I also journal. Like I always like write down because I have like a work life planner, and I write down, okay, what is my productivities? What am I appreciating today? So appreciation for me every single day has helped me to ground and elevate.
I love this, and it's amazing that you shared that you have the productivity journal. Excuse me, and also it's summer solstice today, so you might be even hotter there a bit later on. The sun might be longer, so it's great to hear that meditation, gratitude, because everybody that I've spoken to, they all talk about gratitude and meditation in one way or form. But your one was even thanking the negative that comes along, right? So even if you are getting that fear, you are still thanking the fear and accepting it, which is amazing because accepting that fear is already moving forward and letting the fear know that, okay, I see you, I hear you, but I need to do this anyway. Obviously, if it's a fear, if it's not a life and death situation, you need to, if it's just about doing something you've never done before, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's the fear of that unknown, right? So you're like, okay, I understand you're here to protect me, but I'm doing it anyway, and then you go forward. And I love this that you shared that in terms of, so it'd be brilliant for everybody who's listening to us and watching us now to take away from this. So throughout these whole journey and gratitude and everything, how do you balance your day? I know you said you've got a journal, so do you schedule things or you follow a list?
So sometimes I do like a to-do list, right? So I am a structured person, but at the same time that I let it flow. Whatever comes in, right? But I know, well, first of all, I'm not a morning person. So if someone wants to schedule me, it's so funny. One of my clients tried to schedule me, oh, what is your earliest appointment? Can we do 9 a.m.? And I joke about that. My spirit guy are still sleeping. so I have boundaries, right? So I know what works for me, what doesn't work for me. In the past that I say yes to a lot of things that it doesn't align with me. Now I sit with my feeling and really ask my spirit guide, is this what I wanted to do? I know some clients that they come to me and they are not even ready. And I would let them know that, hey, look, if you're not ready, it is okay. Take your time, pause, think about it, right? So, so for me, I absolutely have the to-do list. And I, of course, that when you're running your business, you still have to follow the schedule. But for me, I'm at a very great point of having a work-life balance because when I was in fashion, I only work. Your play is your work, basically. I don't play. But now I actually craft my time out to play when I'm with my friends. I'm very present. In the past that when I'm in with my friends, I'm always on my phone, checking my emails. When is the jobs coming in? I'm start thinking like 3 days like from today, right? But now that I know that if I have to be a whole and a well-rounded person, I need to have that time of like work and life balance. And the matter of fact, I was just saying earlier that I'm going somewhere else today. So I'm going to see my best friend in Denver for 3 weeks. So I'm just like going to spend time with him. And we are going to nature and like having July 4th together while I'm still working. But you can see that like now I'm absolutely way happier when I find that like the sweet spot, right? So yeah, so I guess that this is what I'm doing now, and it works out.
So that's actually good. So good to hear that. Obviously, you got a to-do list with the scheduling as well. So it's a combination of different things. What works best for you,
Yeah.
And you obviously putting it all together. So we would be finish this up, and thank you very much for sharing all this journey of yours and inspiring so many people who are going to be watching and
Yeah.
listening to this as a podcast.
Thank you.
So as we wrap this up, what would you like to say to people to close this conversation?
Let's talk about healing for a second, because this is what I do, right? So people thought that like, oh, healing, like once I start recognizing I'm healing. Healing is a very long journey. And I joke about it. We come here to this world to experience a human experience, right? And we can do the best of what we do. However, healing is a forever journey, and sometimes that you are still healing while you're at your deathbed, like it or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also recognizing it and telling the people that like, hey, look, being vulnerable about it, because I'm big on this, and telling the people that, hey, look, I did this, and maybe I didn't do it correctly or right. Maybe I hurt your feeling, and it is okay to say sorry. It is okay to recognize other person's intention and let them then know that like, hey, look, you hurt me on this feeling. People don't talk about all these things, right? And this is how the miscommunications comes. This is how the resentment comes. This is how the anger comes. But when two people, no matter with your father, your mom, your siblings, your loved one, your friends, whatever, if you, at least that if you're willing to let out of your feelings, you're inviting another person to come in. That is part of the healing journey. So I highly recommend people to like reach out to the people that they miss and they love, but there's like a blockage. How can you break that blockage down, right? That is part of the healing journey as well. And it is okay to sit with the feelings. I understand majority of people don't like to sit with their feelings. However, like when you address it, when you go through that hump, I understand it's like you have to like go through the mountains in order to get to the destinations, right? But if you never go through those mountains, you're like, oh yeah, I'm good. Again, I'm good, right? You know what? You're still sitting in the same spot over and over. Time will not heal you. Like people is like, oh, time will heal. It's a misconception. Time, if you don't use it wisely, if you don't work hard, time is just a tour and it will just flew by. It will not fix you. It will not heal you. It will not do anything for you. So, so I think that I highly like recommend people to just step into their discomfort, to at least to trying to heal a little bit within. And the thing is, when you are doing the work inside, when you are feeling more gratitude, your world will become a little bit better. So yeah.
I love this actually, and you know, in terms of when you talked about the healing side of things, and feelings as well. Yeah, I mean, especially men, they're programmed to not talk about feelings
Yeah.
anyway. So, so that's like a uphill battle with men anyway. So it's difficult part of that journey. Uh, Plus, but you, as you mentioned, you know, when people say, yeah, time will heal, but the time will heal if you're moving with the time, right? So you are moving, you are climbing that mountain, maybe at your own pace. You don't have
Hmm.
to like, you know, like sweep through it and be on the other side. You know, it's like climbing Mount Everest, and you're the best whatever climber there is. But you know you take your time at your own pace, but you have to move with the time.
Yeah.
And I love the time that you mentioned, you know, if you're not climbing that mountain, you are stuck at the same time,
Hmm.
then the time same moment at same place. And so everything around you is changing, but you are still at that same place with the same wounds, same traumas, everything, same pain, and you're not healing at all. It's just there, and I believe that is when you see people who, you know, lose their marbles, as they say, you
Hmm.
know, or have very big trauma events
Yeah.
as well in life, right? But it's great to hear that people like you yourselves are there to help them
Yeah.
with these things. So if they wanted to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram regarding energy. I'm still having my coaching things currently because I'm transitioning, right? So I'm going to update a little bit more. And this is the best way to reach out to me at the moment because I'm working on my energy website. It's going to be amazing. And I want to briefly to cover it because that I feel like I didn't talk too much about the medium side. So I actually able to talk to people that they are not present anymore. So for the audience out there that who's watching this, if they're interested to talk to their loved one and maybe wants to release part of the energy and don't understand some part of it, like why I'm so, always so angry, why I'm always so resentful, like what is going on, I can dive deep and understanding their ancestry, right? So I can like talk to their parents, I can talk to their great grandparents, whoever comes through that we need to move um certain blockage or understand a little bit more in order to move the blockage. So so yeah, so they can find me on Instagram is the best way for now. And I will update all my information in the near future on my bio. So yeah.
That's amazing. So this episode will be left on Instagram as IGTV, and a bit more. I don't know, a few months down the line, it will be posted as a podcast. So when that happens, it could be 6 7 months down the line. So I will tag your IG onto it, and from there they can go to where they need to go. That's actually amazing to also learn that, you know, you are able to harness that kind of situation to help them understand what the
Yeah.
blockages are, what's the energy causing them disturbance, and if there is something they wanted to get in touch and connect with
Mhm.
out there, right? So that's actually great. So wrapping this up, what would you like to say as a um, closing call for this?
I think that we did cover the things are pretty well, right? We talk about healing, we talk about vulnerability, we talk about time, we talk about a lot of like trauma. We all have, especially when people say that, oh yeah, I don't have trauma. I'm like, maybe sit with it a little bit and think about. But it is okay. Like we all have negative experience, as I said earlier, trauma. There's no shame in it whatsoever, right? People they just don't talk about it because they feel shame, but there's no shame whatsoever. And the thing is you just have to understand it and address it and not run away from it. I always say that you can run but you can't hide.
Mm,
Right.
that's correct.
And I love how you said it, man. It's a little bit harder because that is hard program, like, oh, don't talk about feelings, people like feelings are not for men, for men. But like it or not, we are all human. By the end of the day, we all have feelings. So it is okay to find a safe place, find a safe person or safe group. There's no judgment in it whatsoever, and leading you to the next step. You do not have to, like, as I said, as we talk about from point A to point B, you have to climb off all the mountains. You do not have to climb 3 mountains in the next 3 months, right? And I love how you said it earlier that you take your own time, take your own pace. Finding a right person to lead you without judgment and here to support you no matter what, that is the most important part in the healing journey. So yeah.
Well, that's actually amazing, share, and thank you very much for sharing this, Regard. And people who've been watching this with us on IG and listening to this as a podcast as well, if you found this inspiring and you had that spark moment, and now it's our duty to share this episode with whoever that's popped in your mind, because we never know, who that person is, or that spark that you had might just create another spark in them and get them to start doing what they need to be doing, what they've been putting away for so long, because we don't know who's gone to bed or woken up this morning thinking of a better day. And this episode, if you had a spark from it, might just create inspiration in them as well. So thank you very much, Regard, for your time as well. And everybody else, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.